Hi guys, I'm Jay here with Two Guys in a Ride with Ron Mickey in downtown Des Moines, Iowa, here at the Concord d'Elegance. Right behind me is his beautiful pickup, but Ron, please tell us more about it, please.
Well, REO, not many people know about Ransom Eli Olds. He was part of the Oldsmobile family, and this was at the very tail end of many years of producing vehicles. This was a 1937 REO Speed Delivery, which is different than the Speed Wagon, which people know about. It's more of a 1-ton to 1.5-ton, and they only made these vehicles through 1938. But they stopped making cars the year before this in 1936. They are in the Oldsmobile Museum in Lansing, Michigan. So I'm very fortunate to have come upon this. Actually, my father-in-law found this in a barn south of Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Okay.
And it was actually in a corn crib and had dog food completely in the bed. And that farm raised dogs, and my father-in-law found it. And as he drove through the country and went and talked to him, and he's kind of the guy that could talk to anybody, and he loved vehicles. So we think, honestly, that when he was a young man and delivered newspapers, this might have been a pickup that he saw in his youth, and later on then when he saw it, it was very rare and he knew it. So he was able to purchase it, put it in storage. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years later. And then we ended up getting it in our family. My wife is Nancy Conzett Mickey, and Dale Conzett is the father who had this. And so we ended up buying it from my mother-in-law 24 years ago, actually. In the last 6 years or so, we decided to earnestly rebuild it. And Bill Lack and his son actually were the main hands-on folks. They lived in Pleasant Hill at the time here in Iowa. And we agreed to do it right. It's going to take time. So we went about doing it, and him and his son really did a great job. And they did explain it's going to take some time, and we understood that. So that's why it took 6 years to finish. But we all knew that it was rare. As a matter of fact, the serial number is only 3 digits. So we know for sure it's under 1,000, but it's probably substantially less than that as far as number of vehicles built. And this particular one was a frame-up restoration. In other words, we took it completely down to the frame. The cab was in multiple pieces, and then we went back with it according to the original colors and equipment. So it's still 6-volt. It has the original REO motor. Let me open this up and
please,
show
absolutely.
you. So this motor is a REO flathead 6-cylinder motor, single barrel carburetor. So there's a air cleaner, which is an oil bath, and then the oil filter's there. That is a REO chrome alloy block. So we wanted to really keep it original. So we had the motor rebuilt. We went through the transmission. I should say Bill Lack and his son went through it. And rebuilt it completely. So we were very patient, and they worked very hard at it. And it took longer than we expected, but it was well worth the wait. And as you look at the chrome was actually done in Dubuque, Iowa. You know, chrome today is very hard to do original chroming. And so this chrome was done in Dubuque, Iowa. And fortunately, we had the hood ornament. We had pretty much everything we needed. This hood ornament is somewhat rare, even in the REOs that exist today. You don't see a lot of those. But the grille and the bumper all turned out really well. I did buy another grille actually from a fella in Australia back in the day. Apparently, REO sold quite a few vehicles in Australia. So I spent about just under $1,000 buying different pieces, including a hubcap, a grille, and a couple other things from that fella in Australia.
And about half of that was shipping?
Oh, yeah, about half of it was shipping, yeah. So it's not something you just drive down and pick it up. But it was really good. It was kind of interesting to meet those folks, talk with them. So REO was an old brand, but it was all worldwide, as it turns out.
Okay.
So, but other than that, this is, again, a midnight blue is the color.
Okay.
And this was original color.
The original color.
Yeah, original color. And again, we actually, like, not to be repetitive with it, it's a frame-up restoration, and we went back with everything original. So there's a few pieces missing, but fortunately we had most of it. So, because parts for REOs you just cannot find. A lot of them are custom made because compared to a Ford or a Dodge or any of the mainline brands where you can go to J.C. Whitney or some other place and get parts. You cannot do that with REOs. So that's why it took so much more time to get it done.
I'm loving the big fenders, the big scoop fenders. These are beautiful, and then the standalone headlights as well. Man,
Yeah, when Bill Lack and his sons restored this, they said it must have been somebody that was either blind or a kid, because it looks like they rubbed every gate on the farm as they went through. The fenders were so scratched. So again, it took more time, and I would say, and I would agree with Bill that the fenders are in better shape now than when they were new, because now the finish is so much better and we're able to do a better finish. Back then, they pretty much were stamped and minor sanding and painting. So as it came off the assembly line, it wasn't quite as nice a finish as it does have today.
let's will you show us the inside, please?
Sure, let's go on in here. So on the inside, we did add seat belts. So my wife said, if you're going to take the grandkids, you're going to have to put seat belts in there. So we did. We were able to match them pretty well. But this is how when we received it, we took all the panels that are around the windows and doors and kept them. And then when we took it to our upholster folks, we were able to find fabric that, or I should say vinyl, that was to match the painted panels. And this is actually the original color of the interior as well. So it's kind of a popular color today in leather. Actually, you buy high-end vehicles.
Yes, I was gonna say this chestnut color is very popular today.
Yeah, and of course this doesn't have air conditioning, and actually. So yeah. So that, and then we have vents. If you notice on the side, on each side of the cab, we have air vents here, and they just open and close, just to get some circulation in the cab itself.
I noticed here that the fenders aren't connected to the actual truck body itself.
Yeah, well, that's a great observation. And one thing REO actually, a couple things REO did when they were building these vehicles. They were kind of first in the industry for something like this, which is isolation of the vibration of the engine compartment and fenders. So you'll see that there's kind of a rubber grommet between the fenders and the hood area compared to the chassis. And so that isolated the vibration. And so I thought that was a unique design. And then the other thing that is noteworthy is that the bed of the pickup here, it's the first all metal bed in the industry, actually in the automobile industry. That's what I was told. And we actually had to get one re-stamped and put in because it had some waves in it from hauling materials and whatever it was. And so we had a couple panels, but the side panels are original, the fenders are original, the running boards, of course, are original. We really went to a lot of work to keep things original, so that we could say it's a true frame off or frame off restoration. So that was important to us. So, and we had these hubcaps were the original, and we just had to get two of the hubcaps. We had to find them, and they're not bad, but they were like $300 a piece before they were restored.
No, but I mean, you look at the hubcap, and I mean the detail. It just put REO in that bit of metal. I mean, they're gorgeous. That's probably my favorite part about the car is the fact that it does say REO in the wheel.
Yeah, it's really the way they turn out, and the REO emblem, the way the REO's created, is very unique too. And then the tailgate is pretty cool too, in that this emblem actually was was on the original tailgate, and we were able to get a decal through a design company here to emulate and match the old lettering. And so we took it to Bill and his son and his team, and they put that on and then painted it. So that's exactly the same yellow as the pinstripe and the hubs, or I should say the wheels.
I should have asked what color was your pinstripe in.
I don't know what the exact name of the yellow is, but the blue, is midnight blue. We just tried to match the yellow as best we could. But this was one of, I think, 3 to 4 options that year that they offered this pickup in. I know that they had yellow, green, and blue were the colors, and maybe red I had heard at one time.
And I'm sorry if I had asked this already, but how long was the total restoration from start to finish, would you say?
So I'd say 6 years.
6 years?
6 years of earnest restoration. We did have it running initially. We got it running, but it wasn't restored. And when we went to go to restore it, the guy goes, "You drove this?" I said, "Yeah, we drove in a parade for my son's homecoming parade." He says, "Well, the tie rod ends were barely on anymore. They had
my
been,
goodness.
yeah. So we could have been in a bad accident,
Yes.
but fortunately,
yes.
it didn't happen.
No,
So,
yes.
yeah. And then the other thing, suspension-wise, of course, it does have shocks in the back, and then in the front, it's unique in that it has one shock in the middle of the axle, right in front of the radiator, comes up to the frame. So it's unusual that way, but they do have leaf springs on either side by the wheel.
I was about to ask. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. We belong to the National REO Club, and that's where you find people who know people who have parts. Like, for example, the speedometer. Right now, I need to replace it. It's not in really great shape. It is original, but a friend of mine through the REO Club up in Mankato actually has one it's been restored. So he's holding it for me. So over time, we'll get it 100% restored. Right now, it's maybe 98, 97%, just because a few pieces like that's not quite new looking. So, but we'll get there.
Ron, I noticed you had a piece of unoriginal hardware laying in the front seat.
Actually, it's actually really new. It just actually let me pull that out for you.
Please.
Yes, actually, which here's the hardware we're talking about. It was actually a surprise. I didn't expect this today, and so it was a joy actually to receive this. I think that's some of the best moments in life when you have no expectation about something, and something happens that goes beyond what you even dreamed. So that's what I would call this, is beyond my expectations. So I'm really excited about this, and my wife Nancy and I, who own this, are very proud of that, and my sons, and of course Bill Lack and his team did a great job. So
Congratulations.
You bet. Thank you.
Other than this for today, what's your favorite memory?
Favorite memory would be when my son graduated from high school, and we actually got it running. We ran it in the homecoming parade with wood side panels, and I took some black flat paint and covered over some rust spots, and we drove it in the parade, and people would come along and walk along because they couldn't figure out what it was, because it wasn't a Ford or a Chevy, and the cab has kind of a unique bump here, little different shape, and people who loved old trucks couldn't quite figure out what it was. So that's kind of fun when you have something that people kind of don't recognize and admire, possibly.
No, yeah, absolutely. This to me was already a standout just alone with the yellow on the wheel, but the blue is iconic to me. I like this blue. This blue is very. It speaks to me. It reminds me just, I don't know. It puts a lot, because I'm a big fan of this style of vehicle, and I didn't even know what it was from way back there. So no, I'm really glad you brought this today. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to bring it, and the paint, I've been told, like if it's evening or shadowy, it almost looks like black from a distance, but it's midnight blue, which is relatively close to black, right? Midnight. So it turned out great, and I've had other comments talking about the blue paint. So, but thank you for those comments.
You're very welcome. Any big plans for this coming up or anything?
Well, I don't have any other than to continue to work on the fine points of it. We'll be taking it to some other car shows in our retirement. That's kind of what we're planning. And so hopefully it'll show up in other places, and we'll see how it does.
Well, thank you, Ron.
You bet.
Thank you very much for taking the time showing us the car.
You bet. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching.